Ladies and gentlemen, with that, let us proceed to our next session, Wellness at Your Fingertips, or how personal tech is making holistic health accessible to all. Let's see if it's another wishful thinking promise or increasingly a reality. Here to talk about it, Igor Jurkowski, Head of Technology at GoE Wellness. Welcome, Igor. Let's see if the mic is working. It should by now.
Can you hear me? Yeah,
Can you hear Igor? Yeah.
Perfect.
Enjoy.
So the previous talk actually was touching on a lot of points that I'll be also mentioning today. Just to give you kind of a brief rundown of what we'll be talking today about. So first I'll go with some definitions, then I will dive deeper into the personal tech aspects and kind of the building blocks of how do we actually get there and not lose all our money on it. So what is holistic wellness? Like for us, we find this as four kind of main pillars, which is active, how active you are, rest, how well you rest, how well you recover, nutrition, so how much you eat, what do you eat and when, and beauty, so kind of your self-image and self-affirmation. But it all needs to go together. You know, it's not one size fits all. That's first thing. Some people love gyms, some people love going for yoga, some might love meditation. But it's all about developing yourself holistically and not just focusing on one part of your well-being, because then you might burn out. There is January coming in. A lot of people will go to the gym for a month or two, and then they will burn out. So it's all about the balance there. And wellness is, or holistic wellness is extremely important because of the preventative aspects. So there is the cortisol levels that nowadays are much heightened than before. They cause cardiovascular problems. You have lack of sleep. You have all those issues that can be prevented if we really start early on with very small steps and very small things that every person can really invest those 5-10 minutes a day to do. So what are the access barriers and why don't we just all live, fulfilling, super well lives? So kind of the classic barriers for the tech side is the internationalization and accessibility. Those are probably well known, but we often optimize for English market, so everything is English based, and a lot of people who do not speak English might be impacted by that. And second thing is accessibility. So if there is any kind of, let's say, sight impairment, a person might have trouble using 90% of the apps. Those things are getting better and more automatic. So there is the hidden barriers that we are thinking about a lot is actually the cost, time, the kind of psychological factors, the barriers that are kind of within our own view of being judged, or maybe we are anxious about actually being talking to a person. So how we can solve this, we believe, is through personalized tech. And it's really about putting the person at the center, and there is a lot of those components there. So there is something that's been around for ages, which is like recommendation systems. We can create personalized plans for everyone to actually live, fulfilling life, but to make them actually do it, like you can do it through an app, right? You need to actually have those interactions. You need to make sure that they feel listened to, that they really feel like you care about them. And how we really approach this is through natural interactions. And nowadays, with the generative AI, it is really much easier than ever before to actually obtain this level of intimacy with the user and to really keep in mind, their context to something that I guess Carla AI also is doing. So to relate to what they have been doing in the past, reaffirm them. You've been doing great yesterday. You have had a great walk. Let's have some meditation practice today. Things that can really make them feel as if they are talking with someone, not just clicking on buttons in their phone. So this is one thing that we are really focusing on. And second thing is going a step further, so actually having those voice interactions, because nowadays we have the miniaturization of everything. There is the new glasses from Facebook with microphones and with AR, so we can actually get in the space where people will be able to quickly get feedback about what's going on and talk or answer questions about their well-being. But all of this needs to take into account that the person doesn't exist in a limbo, right? We go to work, we might have different schedules, we might wake up early or wake up late, go to sleep late. So how do we actually make sure that everything that we communicate to the user happens at the right time and at the right place. So the amount of data we can get from the user nowadays, it's enormous. So we can really use that to help the user. So one of the things that we really need to think about is, what do we know about the day of the user? Maybe there is a stressful meeting coming up, and then we can either predict that those meetings, every week there is a meeting with the CEO of the company, let's say, and someone is really stressed out because of that. So ahead of time, we can suggest some meditation practice, or maybe we see through the wearables that there is a lot of stress coming up through the heart rate variability. So maybe we can suggest a walk in the park afterwards, because we see, based on the user's calendar, that they have like a 30 or 1 hour minute break. So that's something that can really help users feel, again, kind of listened to, and it's not this approach of one size fits all. But how do we actually get there? So the main problem is that in the past, everyone tried to reinvent the wheel. So you would build your own integrations, you would build your own APIs, you would build your own data analyzing tools. But the thing is that a lot of those things can really be integrated, right? So there is, even here we have companies that specialize in analyzing data for you and getting the markers for you. So what you can really focus on is the product. So what is the value that you bring to the person? And that's the core of your business, right? You cannot focus on all the things around this, but you really want to focus on what's the core. So there is a really useful tool for this called worldly mapping. So it kind of gets you to think about what are the anchor points and the most important pieces of the value for the users, and what are just utilities. And the utilities are things that you should just buy, because why would you, again, reinvent the wheel? But with all this data, the most important thing is privacy. If the user gives you access to their calendar or to their wearable information or their location, that's something that they don't want to leak. Like recently, there was a leak of the lab analyzing health tests in Poland. So that's something that basically will break your company. This is something that you should never allow. And how you approach this is, you cannot really block every possibility of getting hacked, for example, but you need to always think ahead of time what's the worst thing that can happen. So you have the right monitoring in place, you need to have the right escalation procedures in place, and for some cases you also need to be compliant or certified even with special organizations. And that's something that not everyone will require, but for medical data, that's an obvious thing to have. So kind of to go through the main takeaways. So from our perspective, focusing on those natural interactions and actually giving the user context back to the user is really crucial. Without that, you cannot build a connection and rapport with the users. Second thing, do not focus on the third-party things. Focus really on what's the value for the user, what is the personal aspects that you want to bring to the user based on the data that you have. And third thing, definitely don't forget about privacy. Privacy and security is and has to be at the core of everything we do, especially for medical and wellness technology, because that's actually so intimate for the user. So if you would like to hear more, feel free to reach out. I do have 2 more addendum slides in case there is no questions, but if you have any questions, there is some time now.
Less than 2 minutes left. Any questions for Igor? Looks like 2 more slides to go.
Awesome. Yeah, so first I wanted, because as I mentioned, the kind of classical barriers that we often see in the apps nowadays is still, and there still exists, is the internationalization accessibility. But again, for example, our company creates content, video content, audio content, and with the advent of the AI models nowadays, with the language models, we can really automate a lot of those things. Same for accessibility. A lot of things, thankfully, are taken care of by either Apple or Google on the devices. So what we really need to focus is actually just testing whether what they have done already automatically works. So my suggestion is run empathy workshops for your teams, where you can actually have everyone use your solution for an hour with a screen reader, It's really helpful and it's really eye-opening because you can really see what's not working, and for sure there's something won't work well. And second thing is on the Gen AI side. So there was a couple of talks around this, and Gen AI is amazing. There's new breakthroughs every day when it comes to the long-term memory or other parts of it. But the really crucial part is the privacy there. Make sure that the companies that you use the models from, they do not use the user's data, because you might end up leaking information that should never be leaked. Second thing is build guards in your systems. Like, we are a wellness company, for example. We do not want to provide health suggestions because we are not medical professionals. So make sure that you actually put the boundaries in place.
Igor, I have
Thanks
to give it to you. Perfect timing, and congratulations on preventive risk management thinking with the extra 2 slides. That was brilliant.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Actually,